Hey there, how are you? Show us some love. If you're just joining us for the first time, I am Kathy Times, an Emmy winning journalist and founder of Kathy Times Wow Professional Development, where we help aspiring professionals and organizations share and package the wow in their authentic brand story. We have been speaking with some amazing professionals and entrepreneurs in our series entitled Switching Gears, and someone who knows a thing or 10,000 about telling amazing, authentic stories is Denise Hendricks. She is an executive producer at MSNBC. Thanks for being here, Denise. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me, Kathy.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. We've known each other, just a few years. I won't even say how long. I've watched your career and just really admire the work that you're doing and your ability to pivot, which is why we want to talk to you today. You have had some amazing experiences on shows, working behind the scenes as a producer, associate producer, executive producer, senior producer, Oprah, Monique. Now you switch gears in June from CNN headline news to MSNBC. What does an executive producer do?
Well, an executive producer is someone who is, when you're speaking in terms of news, someone who is in charge of helping to actually execute the show and looking at all the elements that go into the stories that we're telling, how we're presenting them, the guests that we're booking, the look of the show, and also how the talent is presenting that information. So it is a job that requires um, a lot of good decision making skills, good communication skills, and the ability to work with a lot of different people to collaborate on ideas to execute a show.
And can you tell us just a little bit about what you do at MSNBC? Which shows do you work with, especially on the weekends?
Yes. So currently, I'm executive producer of the Cross Connection with Tiffany Cross and the Sunday Show with Jonathan Capehart, both groundbreaking perspective opinion shows that launched on MSNBC back in December. I came on board over the summer, and it has been a phenomenal experience since I joined this team.
When did you decide to switch gears? You had been at CNN headline news for 9 years. I had an opportunity to see you in action. It was great when I was chief communications officer at our alma mater, Florida A&M University. So you were doing some phenomenal work there. What made you switch gears?
Uh, during the pandemic, there were actually a lot of people reaching out about different positions that were coming open. A lot of people were leaving positions, starting new careers, and that left the doors open at other places. And, after a few conversations with various recruiters, across various networks, I decided that this position was something that not only did it interest me, but I felt like it had a very focused and specific mission to tell stories, uh, a lot of stories about people of color, a lot of stories about social justice, a lot of stories that are actually making an impact and transforming and changing lives and educating people on some of the very crucial issues that are going on in our world today. And working with Tiffany and Jonathan, I just felt like, wow, what an opportunity to do something that really matters, that is really impactful, especially again for this time that we're in our country right now, where you see voting rights being attacked. You see just this overall fight for justice. We're at a pivotal point in this country, and I think it's important to really do work that matters and that will make a difference in the lives of many.
Now, you work with a team
Yes.
that helps prepare the talent as well as those guests who appear on the show be successful and wow. Because if you don't wow, then you lose your audience, lose your ratings. So your job, a big integral part of the success of these shows. Now, explain to people, what does it take and how can they become part of that experience? Let's say I am a thought leader. I have done some groundbreaking breaking research. How do I land an opportunity to present my point of view, my voice on a show, one of your shows that you produce?
So typically, I say it's twofold. One, it may be about relationships that you may have. So if you have relationships with people in the industry in different various areas of media, it's good to leverage your industry contacts. Hey, I saw that you all were doing a story about this, or I know this is happening over at the Supreme Court, or I know that this is, this bill is going on. I can speak to some legislative bill that's about to, pass in the House, or maybe not pass in the House. If you can find that person that's inside the organization, you can leverage that relationship and just say, hey, I can speak on this topic. Here are some things that I've written about the topic. Here are some, links to talks that I've done on this topic. I would be really good to, address these issues if it has to do with, voting rights, AAPI issues, what's happening with indigenous people and on tribal lands and their voting rights, the Texas abortion law, what can you speak on that is directly related to that show. One thing, about pitching yourself, to people is knowing the audience that show targets, knowing the mission of the show, and knowing that if it's something that, would they actually do this? I get a lot of pitches that have nothing to do with, what our shows talk about. We don't really focus too much on, entertainment or things that are not aligned. Entertainment that's aligned with the mission, yes, but not just, we're not going to cover like the circus coming to town, unless there's some bigger mission or point to it. So I think when you are pitching yourself, you have to be very intentional about and research, where does my voice fit the best? Is it in a local news market morning show? Is it in an evening show in local news? Is it at CNN? Is it at MSNBC? Is it at HLN? So all of these networks, all of these shows, from the Today Show to Good Morning America to, nightly news to, whatever, they have different missions, they have different brands, and they have a different audience. So you have to think about, when you're pitching yourself, where would my voice fit best?
And when it comes to pitching, I'm sure that it helps also. What I've learned is going on LinkedIn, and we've talked about this. Can you talk a little bit about how you extend your network and your reach even today? Because you've had an amazing career, but when you were ready to transition, I understand that you reached out to people, some
Yes.
that you didn't know, on LinkedIn.
Yes. I'd say during the pandemic, I was thinking a lot about, where I was in my career and what the future would look like and what do I want to do? And, what path am I being led down? I'm a, very spiritual person, very faith-based person. So I put a lot into, I pray a lot, and I think a lot about, am I on the right path? Is this the path that God wants me to be on? I want things that I do to have purpose and intention. And yeah, so I went on LinkedIn and started reaching out to executives, cold calling, during the pandemic, or reaching out, just saying, hey, I would love to talk to you a little bit more about your career and, your career trajectory and how you knew you wanted to be at XYZ and, this time frame and, some of the ups and downs you've had on the job, some of the things that you've learned that have kind of charted your path forward. And I did. I reached out to a lot of phenomenal people, and they were very open to give me the time and discuss things with me and give me advice. And I was very thankful for that. I was thankful for, we had that downtime during the pandemic where you're still
Yeah.
working, but
Yes.
you're working from home. So it
Yeah.
cuts out commute time. It cuts out, all kinds of things, let me stop here and do this. Let me stop here and do that, all those things, because you're home all day. So there's time in between, conference calls and
Yeah.
Zoom meetings, that you can actually, I would say, work on yourself and focus on yourself and really look at, kind of do like an evaluation and say, where am I? Where do I want to be? Reassess your goals. And, if things are fine, you stay where you are. And I feel like I'm continually trying to figure out how to be a better version of me. And every day, it is a growing process to do
I
that.
love that though, Denise. And that's why you are so successful. What is your wow advantage? How have you continuously been successful, especially during times when shows go off the air? Oprah no longer on the air in that place where you work with her, Monique, same thing. So shows stop, they're discontinued, but you have consistently pivoted. What do you think it is that you have, and we call it your wow advantage, that has allowed you to do that seamlessly and be successful in your career?
Number one, I think you have to be open to all kinds of opportunities around you. So you have to keep your eyes open, and you also have to maintain relationships. So you have to keep your eyes open. There's a networking and a relationship component to this. I stay in touch with people from all, from people that I worked with in local news, people that I worked with at CNN, people that I work with at the Oprah Show, at BET. I'm continually staying in touch with these people via social media or text message or email or even a phone call. So you have to maintain relationships, being open, maintaining relationships. And then I think you have to really have faith in yourself to take some risk. You have to have faith in yourself to take some risk and know that, hey, it may be bumpy in the beginning and it may be bumpy the whole ride, but eventually you're always learning, you're always growing, you're always soaking up new skills, new ideas, taking on new projects, and being open in the moment where you are to do new things. At HLN, I was hired at HLN as a senior producer for Morning Express with Robin Meade. But in addition to just doing regular senior producer duties and, helping to drive the editorial of the show, you're also asked to do other things, asked to field produce. Well, I field produced quite a bit when I was at the Oprah Show. And so I had that skill in my pocket. And then I was asked to do, other things, plan this event. We're going to do this out of town event. So you have to just think in your mind, okay, where in my past have I done things like this? Let me bring all those skills together and all those things. And then let me put them into this, into this role, into this new role. But I think you have to be open. I think you have to continue to develop and nurture your relationships and be sincere about it. And again, you have to also just be willing to take risk on yourself, and just have faith that, it'll all work out in the end. I always say this, Romans 8:28, all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And even if you're not a person of faith, just having the belief in yourself to do what your heart desires and sets out to do, I just say you got to have that risk. You got to have that faith. And again, if it doesn't work out, and I always say this to myself, I'm going to take this chance. I'm going to try and I'm going to see, what happens. I'm going to have faith that God is going to bring me along, and I'm going to learn and grow in the process. And if things don't work out, you can pivot to something else.
I love that. I love that. Now, with that said, it's not like you're alone. You've got
Right.
this awesome young man,
That's
Luke,
right.
who I've watched grow up, and it's really been a pleasure. How were you able to transition? Tell us about your tribe, your personal board of directors, because
Mhm.
you moved to New York. Is Luke 5 now?
Yes.
Yeah, with a 5-year-old. So
Yes.
how is that?
Well, here's what I'll say, even before that, my family, my brother, his wife, their children, my aunts and uncles on both sides of the family, my grandmother, my maternal grandmother who is still living, I could not do, and then some really, really good and close friends. I could not do what I do without their continual support and encouragement. Um, and motivation. So through this whole, moving and decided to do this job and consulting with them, should I take this? Should I do this? It's a lot as a, solo parent to pick up and move after you've been in one city, Atlanta, for so long, and then move to a city like New York, as big as it is and the magnitude of it and, everything that goes along with it. But, with their support and with their help and with their encouragement, I was able to make that transition. And I'm thankful for that. So, I would say you cannot be afraid to ask for help, when you're doing something like this. I don't care if you're single and just have a dog or you're just solo. There are going to be times when you need help making a transition and, getting used to a new job and a new setting. And so I would say to people to ask for help and not to drown alone uh, when you are trying to, make a change in your life. And I will say that, the support from my family and friends has been absolutely phenomenal. I feel very blessed to have such wonderful people in my life. God has placed wonderful people in my life, and I'm thankful for it every day. I am so thankful. I don't take anybody for granted. I am grateful because I could not do this alone. When I took Luke started kindergarten in September. New city, new elementary school, new friends, new environment. One of my friends flew up here, and one of my best friends flew up here for the weekend. And then another friend that lives here in New York with us, we had like a little village taking Luke to school that morning. And I was so
Oh,
thankful that they were able to, experience that. His first day of kindergarten, we all were able to experience that together.
I so admire you for adopting Luke. He was an infant, he was a baby, a newborn. And hats off to you, Denise.
Thank
It's
you.
always a pleasure speaking with you. And
Thank
you
you.
keep doing what you're doing, girl. I'm so proud of you. Keep soaring.
Thank you. I thank you for having me, Kathy, and you keep up the great work with
Oh, thank
Wow.
you.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, God bless you and all that you do.